Hi, everybody. I'm Clay with Clay Martin Homes at the Cutting Edge Realtors. Welcome back to the Colorado Springs Senior Living Resources. On this YouTube channel, we have real life conversations with senior serving professionals to help seniors and their families with late in life transition. Today, I'm excited to sit down with a good friend of mine, Michelle Stellick. She's the author of this book, What I Learned Working for Dead People. All right, I know that title might catch you off guard a bit, but it's not really about death at all. It's really about planning while living so that those who are taking care of your final wishes, they know what to do. And having a plan in place is so helpful for those that are taking care of your legacy. And Michelle, she has a really unique perspective on this because she's helped over 220 families navigate life after the loss of a loved one and figure out what truly matters. And she's learned a lot along the way from what families wish they had done differently and lessons that we can learn from her experience before it's too late. We're going to be talking about legacy, family, relationships, estate planning, downsizing, and even the emotional impact of our possession and the things that people often regret leaving unsaid. Whether you yourself are a senior planning for the life ahead, or an adult child planning for your mom and dad, or dealing with the death of a loved one and figuring out what step to take next, watch this episode. I think you're really going to enjoy this conversation that I have with Michelle. Michelle, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Why don't we go ahead and jump right in, and why don't you tell people who haven't read your book who you are and what got you motivated to write your book, What I Learned Working for Dead People?
Sure. So, I am a Colorado Springs native. I grew up here, and my story, I think, in regards to the book, really starts in 2008. I was a stay at home mom and I was ready to go back to work.
Okay.
And it's a tough market. I'd been in real estate before, and 2008 was just really a bad year to get back into real estate.
Right.
The job that I found was at a local funeral home and cemetery.
Okay.
Got my life insurance license, sold pre-need funeral home or funerals packages, and then I was also a receptionist at the cemetery. So didn't know really anything about that industry.
Yeah.
Learned so much, and what I found was that most people don't know anything about it. They come to the funeral home when their loved one passes away. They might come to a service. Not a lot of exposure about how it works, how much it costs, what it all involves. Also realized then that a lot of people don't really know what happens financially, tax-wise, legally, anything when their loved one dies, because they were asking me, the receptionist,
Right.
what they were supposed to do next. And I didn't know. I was 36. I was raising kids, and I really just hadn't had a lot of exposure either.
Okay.
In 2012, I got an opportunity to start working at an estate planning law firm. And I thought, oh gosh, now I can get all of those questions answered for myself. And what I realized there was huge, very in-depth, complicated field. Okay. Estate planning and estate administration. Lots of stuff that goes on with that. And most people don't know what they're getting into when they're starting to have to administer an estate for a loved one. As we started getting more and more of the probate and trust administration cases, I saw an opportunity to help families that needed more than just that legal work done. Had one client in particular that I talk about in the book, Marty, had his own health issues and was not able to come out to Colorado to administer his sister's estate. You don't need to be in the same place. A lot of it's administrative work. Most of it can be done over the phone, email, fax. But she had a house. She had 3 elderly cats. There was a lot going on that a lot of times the family is expected to take care of. He couldn't, so I started calling around to see who could help him, and there really just wasn't any one resource. There were lots of pieces to put together.
Oh, right.
Right?
You almost need like a project manager to be in charge of all of it.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's what I realized. I was like, hey, I could be a project manager for personal representatives and trustees and help them with the logistics and all the details of the estate, from the funeral home, if necessary, all the way through clearing of the house and getting it to a real estate professional to get on the market. So I started my own company in 2017 called
Okay.
Stellick Legacy Estate Services
Okay.
and operated that through 2023. That time, it was an estate concierge, estate organization, and clearing business. So we would find paperwork needed for estate administration.
Okay.
We would find sentimental or inherited items, money, jewelry, random things you may not ever think of. um, and we really walked our clients through the whole process, brought in and wrangled all of those other professionals to help make the process happen. And just we did that for 220 clients in those 7 years and just had a lot of fun, but had to find a lot of solutions to thousands of problems.
Right. And would you say, like, in doing that, not every family encounters the same issues and same problems? Like, it's not a one size fits all solution.
It's not
It's a very
every
reactive.
single,
Yeah.
yes, every single estate has just, it's a different family, it's a different family dynamic, there's different stuff, there's different financial situation. Yes, everyone is different.
Okay.
And so we would have to come up and find, come up with different resources, whether it was for donation. I had one client who wanted to donate her wedding dress, but she wanted specifically to donate it to um, a group of people who would make it into like a baptismal gown for a preemie baby that had passed away. Very specific. We'd heard of something like that, but trying to find that resource
Right.
was a little bit of a challenge. I found this one lady had 8 beautiful wigs. Well, where do you donate wigs? And so it took us, we had, I had lots of help, but many phone calls to find the right resources for
Okay.
those problems. But what I saw, what was consistent, was that people didn't have a very clear understanding about how this works. There's a
Okay.
lack of information. There's a lot of misinformation and myths out there
Right.
about how it's supposed to work. And some of it you'd think is common sense, but it's just not. The law isn't
Right.
necessarily common sense. The law is the law. The process is the process. Each of the financial institutions has their own requirements and rules. So
Right.
it doesn't all make sense and it gets confusing sometimes. The person who's in charge isn't the right person and they don't do a good job, and that adds stress to the situation. A lot of times beneficiaries have people whispering in their ears saying, oh, they're doing it wrong and they're not supposed to do that and this is how this works. And that may have been true for that person's very particular situation, but it may
Right.
not be true for this one.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times trouble gets kind of started and we have a lot of misinformation, miscommunication. So in 2023, when I decided to cease client operations for Stellick Legacy, is just the right time to start writing this book and come at it from a different direction of how can I help people before the death occurs, or at least guide them through with education and compassion, guide them through this entire process, whether
Okay.
they have the opportunity to pre-plan with their person. And my book is written for the personal representative or the trustee,
Right.
for the person who's going to be in charge. If they have the opportunity to work with their loved one before they pass away, what a gift.
Right. Yeah. So when I was reading the book, I was like, man, how helpful would this be for almost everybody who is in charge of somebody else's estate, or just the person that has to go and take care of everything, like the personal representative, um, from start to finish. That's what I loved. It wasn't just like in general, right? It was like, if you go to a funeral home, these are the questions they're going to ask you,
Right.
right? And I haven't gone through that personally, but I lost my dad at a young age, and my mom had to go do that, unexpectedly, grieving, and make decisions, and then open herself up to being judged by other people, and there's a lot of decisions to be made under pressure, under the grief, right?
Absolutely.
And it's like, most people don't want to be in that situation whatsoever at that point in time. But what helps is having a blueprint or a guide to go by.
Absolutely.
And as I was working my way through the book, I was like, man, this is gold, right? Because, like, I think Mike Tyson has a quote like everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face, right? Well, this
Right.
is kind of the same thing.
This
We
is
all
it.
kind of have a plan until we get punched in the gut. And that's essentially what this is. When we lose a loved one, we're not thinking right, we're not sleeping right, we're very emotional. We just want it to be over, but we want to do right by our loved one, right?
Yeah.
And what you have done is basically put in these pages a blueprint, like what to do, and it helps if you read it before you navigate something like this.
It does.
Yeah, and it's also, I in my mind, I think everybody should read it, and then if and when you unfortunately have to navigate these waters, it's something to refer back to, and that's just something that I kept thinking, like, oh wow, this is gold as I'm working my way through the book.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
So you spent years working with families after the loss of a loved one. What surprised you most when you started doing this work?
Just that I thought people knew more about it than I did.
Yeah.
Like I said, I was in my mid 30s, and I just thought people my age in their 50s like knew about this. And they don't.
Yep.
They're professionals in their field. They specialize in their lives, right?
Yeah.
Um, I was surprised at how confident people were in what they thought they knew.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that they would want to challenge that with, with other people. I was surprised at the amount of resistance people had to getting help from resources. So resistance at the funeral home, resistance, maybe getting an attorney, getting some sort of legal help to navigate. All of this costs money. We've heard it before. It's expensive to die.
Yeah.
That's no lie. It is expensive to die. Going into it with good expectations is very valuable.
You said, people don't know what they don't know, right? Is it because their loved ones, like, it's kind of morbid to talk about it and plan ahead? Like, I know you hear that not all the time, but often, like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about when I die. I'm not going to be here. I don't care, right? That's
Right.
for that person who's no longer here,
Right.
right? Pretty selfish thought. But for the ones that are, cleaning up the mess, for lack of better words, it is helpful to have a plan in place and have things organized so that it is less messy for that person picking up the mess, right?
It is. It's a hard conversation to start.
Right,
A lot of people do think it's morbid. They don't want to talk about death. They want to live their lives. We've been told, hey, live your life.
right, right.
Focus on that. This is an inevitable thing for every single person. So I approach it that way. We Every single person's going to die. We all are going to leave something behind. It
Okay.
has to be dealt with. So overcoming the resistance to having that conversation. It can be sticky though, because a lot of people, maybe the older person has tried to start that conversation and their kid's resistant to discussing it.
Okay.
There's superstition of, well, if if we talk about it, then I'm gonna die. Well, this is true. I don't know when it's going to happen.
Right,
I don't think it's going to happen immediately because you decided to talk about it.
right.
Um, it's a good conversation to have. A lot of people think, gosh, if I bring this up with mom, she's going to think I'm greedy. She's going to think I'm after her stuff. Or again, the older person's brought it up and kids are like, Mom, we already have enough of our own stuff. What are we going to do with all your stuff?
Right.
We're just going to bring it, back a dumpster up to the house. None of this is productive.
Right. Right.
It can be hurtful. It's hard to overcome that. So that's what I want to help families do is come together
Yep.
to have this discussion in an open, transparent way, that there's not ulterior motives. It's just how do we get information flowing between the person who's likely going to need care while they're still living,
Mm-hmm.
and their affairs are going to be needed to be taken care of after they die,
Okay.
and the people who are there to help them do that.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's the goal.
I think when's a good time to start that conversation?
I think that's the same. The answer to that is the same as when people say, when's a good time to get estate planning? And I
Right.
go, now,
Right.
all the time. It's tougher when you're younger than me. I'm in my early 50s. I'm putting my stuff together
Okay.
now.
Yeah.
I've been working on it. I designed, I guess, and planned my own funeral when I was 36
Okay.
because I started at the funeral home.
You were in the world living it, and
Was
you're
in
just
the
like, yeah,
world, right? And so I've had that kind of planned, but I looked back at that this last year because I lost both of my parents this past year,
okay,
and as I've planned their funerals and I had talked with them about their things, I looked back at my funeral plans and I went, oh, yeah, this doesn't apply anymore. This isn't what I would want anymore. But I had expressed this, at least my husband knew what my wishes were. I had something written down. Somebody would have some guidelines.
yeah,
If even if I hadn't said that this isn't what I wanted anymore, if I died right now and that's what they had,
yeah,
I just made, I don't know, 50 decisions for them that they don't have to think about. They don't have to mull over. They don't have to question. The decisions were made. They're written down. They're there for them.
right,
So there's a lot to this kind of planning.
uh-huh,
And they're tough questions. And sometimes you don't even know the questions.
right,
You don't even know the questions to ask.
right,
So it takes some time to kind of work into it and warm up to it and document these things. Doing it all at one time kind of it would be a little sad and depressing, and we can kind of work into it.
yeah, for sure. No, I think it's great advice. It's not a again, it's not a one size fits all solution. And you mentioned estate planning. Would you say it's fair that it's something that you come back to every so often, and like kind of once you live a little, you may make changes or you may alter what you thought you once wanted, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah. You'll something a new technology will come along.
right. Oh
Um,
yeah,
you know, 30 when I was 36, it was burial or cremation,
yep,
a flame cremation. Now there's terramation. There's water cremation. There's natural burial. There's that field alone has opened up many different possibilities.
okay,
There's I guess there's donation. You could donate your body to science, and that's what I chose to do at that at that time.
okay,
But there's rules and situations around that to know and understand. So yeah, it's just like estate planning. It's just like anything. You something new comes along and you might consider that, but once you've addressed the likelihood, the possibility of your own death, it's not the monster you're hiding from anymore. You're
okay,
not. I don't know. For me, it was more freeing. It
yeah,
made my life and my living richer
hmm,
because I fully embrace and understand. I have limited time. I can change my mind
yeah,
about the things while I'm living, but I'm also giving information and helping people know what I want.
absolutely. Kind of like a superpower, you know?
It's a superpower.
Yeah. What is something most people misunderstand about death, grief, and planning for the future?
I think it's that piece of it's too morbid to talk about.
Okay,
It's taking away from our lives by talking about the death,
okay,
or even just our end of life. I think another thing we misunderstand is that we think we're alive and that we're dead.
yep, yeah,
But we hopefully age, right?
hmm,
That's the goal. We want long life. Um, but at the end of our life, it we do need more care.
right,
We do get sick. And those are some of those questions. How do I want to be treated? What kind of care do I want when I'm in that situation?
right,
So I think that we skip steps
yeah.
and we hope we all want to die peacefully and in our sleep. That'd be great.
That would be amazing, right?
Not reality for most people. We don't know how or when, but um, just I guess answer finding those questions, finding the right questions to ask, and then getting answers to them can guide you. It's a gift for yourself.
Yeah,
It's a gift for the people who are taking care of you, um, that they know when they're taking care of you, um, that they're doing the right thing.
yeah. Well, that leads me to my next question, which is the two words that come up when I think about this is friction and conflict. When you are working with families, oftentimes you see there's a lot of friction and conflict within families after somebody passes away. Why do you think that is?
I would hazard a few guesses, but one would be there that always existed. The person who passed away was the mediator. They were the one who took the brunt of that.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're gone.
Yep.
So family members are kind of floundering, trying to figure out how to communicate with each other without that person there
Okay.
to maybe take the edge off, to help them navigate that, and that they always have done for them. A lot of times they little old family dynamics seem to pop up. The one sibling that always seems to get their way, you see them kind of working in there and figuring out how to get their way, and that ticks off the other sibling, and we're might as well be 8 and 10 again, right?
Yeah.
we time has no meaning when it comes to those family dynamics. I hazard some of those. Some people do, like, not every family has a good dynamic, right?
And more often than not, they don't. For those of y'all that are watching, like, it's common to have multiple siblings on multiple different pages. One sibling may be really helpful. One sibling may be nowhere to be found until these times come up. So it's not just your family. It's a lot of other families that behave this way as well.
It's normal. Everybody has like their assigned position in the family, right? And so I think having open communication during this time, and doing your best, everybody trying to do their best, and recognize that everybody else is trying to do their best. I'm an optimist. I'm definitely a Pollyanna. But that's my hope for families, is that they can see each other, and work through this, and that there's clear instructions. The clearer and more abundant the instructions are, the less there is to argue about. Hopefully, we always find things to argue about, but hopefully there are other things, there's other questions, there's other conflicts that don't have to be addressed because the decision was already made by the person who passed away.
Right. So you have a family, you have mom, dad, you have multiple kids. Something happened to mom or dad, right? Who should be in charge in your experience? I know you see adult kids that are, maybe the responsible one, like an accountant or something, right? But do you think, like, are there other alternatives to having like one of multiple children be in charge? And what is your advice to families that they want to choose somebody to be in charge? Does it need to be somebody in their family, or can it be somebody outside of their family?
It can be, yes, it can be either. Sometimes, like, we all have, again, our positions in our families.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see families who choose one child for medical power of attorney, and making those medical decisions, working with the doctors,
Mm-hmm.
hospice, that sort of thing. And then there's the other kid who's good with money, can talk to a bank, can get things done that way. That's a great separation of duties and tasks during somebody's lifetime. Then after somebody dies, the person who's in charge, the trustee or the personal representative, yes, I would want somebody who's responsible with money, who is productive and has a sense of time management, has an understanding of how money works and the value of money. That's, I think, I would say a requirement, because settling somebody's estates is really dealing with all the assets within the estate. So there's inventories and reporting and deadlines that go with that. If there's no one in your family that can take care of that, there are professional fiduciaries that can do that. National Guardianship Association will have professional conservators or guardians. So conservator is somebody who takes care of your financial life, and that's under a court order. So that's court dictated, I guess. And then the guardianship is, in our state, is somebody who takes care of your medical needs, your well-being needs. So there's professionals, and you can find them on the NGA website. A lot of those professionals will also serve as the personal representative of an estate or a professional trustee of the estate. So if it's, if you want a third party, if you have kids who don't get along and you're putting one kid in charge of the money and it's going to cause problems for everyone else, having that third party is like is a gift. They do take some sort of fee for their work, but it's a matter of balancing out the conflict that could be caused versus the fee that they charge to
Right.
do
Kind
the
of
work.
maintaining peace within the family
Hmm.
is something you can't put a price tag on.
No,
Right.
no, they'll keep things straight. They don't have a horse in the race, right? Except for the document or the law, whichever, you know, is dictating how things are treated.
Right. Right.
Mhm.
No, I I've interacted with multiple families that literally like they don't communicate anymore because of and I come around later in the process, like when the house needs to be sold.
Right.
So they've already gone through um this, that, and the other for the most part. And then the person I'm ending up dealing with, or that I end up dealing with, tells me the horror stories that they went through, and
Hmm.
how they no longer talk to their sibling or whatever. So I do think that if there's a huge benefit in hiring an outsider who has no family relation to be in charge and execute the best wishes of the person who has passed.
Hmm.
And I just, the more I see it, the more I believe in it, and I'm like, oh, that's the golden ticket right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they're really valuable resources.
If somebody is taking on the role of a personal representative deed for the first time, how do they handle a family member that is demanding answers while the personal representative is trying to figure out the roadmap for themselves? Like, it's brand new, it's just happening, and you have those people kind of calling, texting, knocking at your door saying, what's going on? They want answers quickly.
Right. I would say the being the person in charge of an estate or in charge of a person who is not able to make their own decisions is just a really hard job.
Yeah.
It's big. It's bigger we um, than we think it's gonna be. Most PRs, it's hundreds of hours over several months, maybe years
Yep.
of your time, and it's a steep learning curve.
Mm-hmm.
So the person who's going to be in charge, my first piece of advice to them is remember you're grieving too. You lost somebody that you loved.
Yeah.
So take care of yourself in that process. Um, one, two, go pay for professional advice. Expect to at least spend, I don't know, $500 maybe to sit down with an attorney for a couple hours, understand what you're dealing with, get a roadmap, get a blueprint, figure out that journey, that timeline. Then, if you can, but either, I mean, depends on proximity, it depends on family dynamics, but have a family meeting, sit down with everyone, tell them you plan on doing the best that you can. You're working through this. You're sad. You sat down with a professional and you're getting really good advice, that you are going to be in communication with them throughout this process, that depending on the process, say like probate has specific timelines and forms and mailings, so you'll be reaching out to them and they'll be getting information as the process goes,
Right.
giving them an idea of what you were told what that time frame would be. Let them know that things change. You don't get any control over the court's response, like that time frame.
Right. Right. You're at the mercy of
So
the court.
right, it might take 2 weeks to get letters testamentary that show that you're in charge, because you can't do anything, you can't go to the bank until you have those letters.
Right.
So that could be 2 weeks, that could be 6 weeks, that could be, depending on where you are, it could be a few months before you can even start doing anything.
Right.
So just setting people up to understand what this timeline could look like, what you think the process looks like, and just reassure them that you're working through it and that your intention is to communicate with them as it goes through the process.
Right.
So I just, clear, transparent communication, but get advice from that attorney or another professional. Of You don't have to be an open book either. You have a job to do.
Right.
Everyone out there does not need to know every detail of that.
Right.
or someone else's business within that process that you're dealing with.
Right.
Uncle Joe does not need to know what Aunt Tammy is inheriting.
Right.
It's maybe not Uncle Joe's
Yeah.
business
Right.
and could cause more conflict. So, being prudent with that information, but just as open communication as possible.
Okay. Awesome. That's good advice. When somebody is grieving and they're suddenly hit with all this legal paperwork, the financial account, and endless decision, what is the absolute first thing an executor or personal representative should do, and what should they completely ignore or put on the back burner for now?
Um, First things, I feel like I have like three really important ones. Let's see if I can
Yeah, that's okay.
gather them up. First, it is take care of yourself. You
Yep.
are grieving to take care of yourself. Um, I say this from personal experience and having forgotten how to take care of myself
Right.
to the point where I put myself in the hospital,
Okay.
right? So that day, I took care of myself because I got out of bed and I brushed my teeth and I went and did the 500 things I had to do that day.
Mm-hmm.
And I forgot to drink water and I forgot to eat. And I ended up passing out and going to the hospital, and they thought I was having a heart attack.
Okay.
Because they're like, "Is your chest tight?" I'm like, "Yes, my chest is tight. My dad is dying right now. I'm dying." Like,
Right.
I'm over myself.
Right.
So take care of yourself first, and second would be just, I'm hoping I can remember the three. Mitigate things that mitigate risks when you're dealing with the estate. There's things that you really just need to shut down. Change the locks on the house. Then we don't have people coming in. We don't have to figure out who has keys.
Yeah.
We're just mitigating that risk. If you need to hire security because it's at risk for squatters, what does that look like? If we're coming up to the winter time and the house is going to be vacant, do we need to turn off the water?
Right.
So just mitigating those risks, and then just gathering all of the information that you need.
Okay.
So those first three things, like, you can't ignore those. You're gathering all this information. You don't even know what path you're on until you know what the information is.
Right.
You can't do it if you're in the hospital.
Right.
And you don't want to be fighting a fire that you could have completely prevented.
Right.
So those three really rate highest for me.
Okay.
I think the thing that you could ignore, and I say ignore until later, is all the sentimental stuff that you find in the house. And I mean, like, photo albums, pictures, slides. You don't need to organize that now.
Yeah.
Don't deal with that stuff now. Keep it in the boxes. Just put it wherever it needs to be. If you have someone else that can help you, delegation is a great way to take care of yourself.
Yep. Yep.
But that stuff can maybe wait until later. You may need some of that for the funeral, but again, that's delegating.
Right.
The bank will only talk to you as the person being in charge of the estate, but your sister can help with the funeral arrangements and getting the slideshow together and doing that. So I would say hold off and don't deal with photographs, sentimental items that are just taking up space. Let them take up that space. You have a million other things to do.
Right. Absolutely. I think it's natural, like when we are grieving, like you said it yourself, you just kind of like throw yourself into the work to kind of avoid the grieving. And naturally that comes with like forgetting to take care of ourselves.
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
And it's natural. I think it's what we all do. It's like, how can we avoid feeling the part that really, really sucks, right? But then also, like, I think of take that. You mentioned something in the book along the line, and I can't remember it verbatim, but it's something like this entire process can take months, right? So do the grieving first, do the initial planning for the funeral stuff second, and wait a little while until you're ready to throw yourself at the clearing out of the house. And like, this doesn't have to be done at the same time parallel with the funeral planning and the grieving,
right,
and the reception or whatever comes along with it. It can just be like, let's take time for me right now. Let's plan a celebration of life for a funeral. Let's let things kind of die down and idle.
Yep.
And when we're ready, let's throw ourselves into this big project
Right.
that's going to be emotional. We may need to take another pause, right?
Right.
But I do think that a lot of people are like, the clock ticking and we got to go.
Right.
But I mean, if you can slow this thing down and tackle it when you are ready and ask for help and seek out resources that can help you.
Yes.
Yep.
Slow it down as much as you can. There are things you'll have people coming to you going, well, when's the life insurance coming through?
Yep.
When do I get a little distribution? You might have to push little things forward at a time,
Mm-hmm.
but you can't do all of it at once. There's no way.
Right.
There's no way. So asking for help, delegating, and then taking it step by step. It's going to take months. You can't make the process be faster.
Right.
Especially if it's a court process like the probate.
Yep.
You have to wait for the creditor period. You have to wait for the court for the documents.
Right.
You fill out forms and you have to wait to get responses back on the forms. All of that, there's a lot of waiting in between the action. So spread it out.
Yep.
And take care of yourself and then other people in this process.
Absolutely. Let's move on and talk about like possession and downsizing and somebody's legacy. So, as somebody who had dealt with a lot of the belongings that people leave behind, what have you learned about like just stuff, like people's belongings?
I would say, so my personal lesson out of this, after seeing 220 homes
Yep.
of full of stuff, is I need far less stuff. So like this has been a mirror back into my own life.
Yeah.
Of, oh my gosh, if I don't use it and I don't love it, it has no place in my house.
Yep.
I don't want to spend 52 hours a year, and I come up with 52 hours a year because let's just average 1 hour a week cleaning or organizing my stuff.
Yep.
That I don't use.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just stuff. It doesn't change our lives.
Did it kind of resonate with you differently when you started Stellick Legacy? Like, I'm sure like you just one day we have stuff, and I get it. Like, I can be materialistic. Like, whatever it may be, it could be something as simple as like a new belt. I'm just like, I get this weird feeling. I'm just like, yeah,
I have to have that.
and then you get it and you completely lose interest in that thing. That excitement kind of goes, right? Well, I see like families where I come in, I do a consult, maybe a spouse has died and there's a big house, there's a lot of stuff. The hand me down phase is kind of past. Like, adult kids don't really want the big bulky furniture that mom and dad have. And then you realize, like, at that point, there is a chance to make money on your belongings or the convenience of getting rid of it quickly.
Right.
And a lot of times people are like, screw it. Let's sell the sterling silver, let's sell the jewelry, but let's just throw everything else in a dumpster. And it is convenient, but like when you really step back and look at it, you're like, man, this is somebody's life that you are just discarding.
Right.
You know?
I think, and that is the, I don't know, the paradox. That's what you're looking at, is that I've walked into people's houses. I'm never going to meet these people. They're gone from this earth.
Yep.
So I've gotten to know the people, and when I'm in their house, a little bit. Like, I get to know them through their belongings, like the things, their favorite colors, the things they liked, where they traveled. So I got an idea of who they were, maybe a little through their stuff.
Yeah.
But on the opposite end of things, when their families tell me stories about them and they loved them so much that they miss them to tears. Sorry, I'll cry a little bit. That's the legacy. That's the legacy. The stuff, we have to just find a new home for it.
Right.
It's most of it's pretty worthless.
Yeah.
Yes, I know you spent $50 on that belt and I can sell it for $5.
Yeah.
And we have a time problem and a space problem because we have this house, which is the real asset here.
Yeah.
And we have to get everything out of this house to sell this house. So I can't sell that belt for $5 because it's going to take me too long to sell that belt for $5.
Right.
So then, a big philosophy for my business was most of these things have another life in them.
Okay.
maybe we don't have time or don't want to take the time to get the $5 for that $50 belt, but I can get it to someone through a charity resource. So thrift store model, or direct to the consumer, sort of like Springs Rescue Mission. You
Yep.
know, they give clothing directly to the folks that come to them. So there's lots of different opportunities to be able to do that. But in the end, on the whole, it's not worth a whole lot of money. Some things are worth more than others, and we want to find good buyers for them.
Yeah.
Also, with the limited space and time involved, keeping that in mind.
Right.
So, yeah.
We always talk about like sorting things into, and this is in another video back with the estate sale company and downsizer, but it's sorting through your stuff into like the profitable stuff, the things that can be donated or given away, and then unfortunately the stuff that's not profitable and can't be donated, that then we have to find a way to discard. And what she's talking about is using your time wisely and focusing on the stuff that can be sold, and kind of accepting that the rest of this stuff needs to be donated to get to the thing that holds the most monetary value, which is going to be the house. What do you think families underestimate how long and how difficult it is to clear out a house?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Do you think, with that same question, there is a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it? And what I mean by that is sorting through things before you throw them away. Because I can imagine that many valuables and important documents get thrown away if you're just grabbing and tossing, as opposed to hiring a professional company like what you had, which is sorting through first, identifying things, and then discarding.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I feel very strongly about of going through each box,
Yep.
each cupboard. Things get hidden away, things get lost, things are hidden away on purpose, especially if you're in a home with somebody who had dementia,
Right.
Or any sort of mental illness, any sort of paranoia. So yes, I feel like families sometimes make rash decisions because they want it to be over. I know,
Yeah.
I know they want it to be over, and they see just a bunch of junk in the house. I had one house that I could tell the dining room table, probably once a quarter, they would get one of those big tubs from Walmart, the storage tubs.
Yep.
And they would just take everything off the dining room table, and it all just get shoved into this tub, and then the tub would get put into the spare bedroom. And they were stacked up. And the reason that this is what I thought would happen is I'd go through the first tub, and I'd find the lost wedding ring because it'd been on the table. I found, I don't know, 10 pounds of junk mail. I found the bread bag. It's just random stuff.
Yep.
But that wedding ring was there. The Rolex was at the bottom.
Yeah.
The bank account statement that we need to know about, and maybe the filing cabinet isn't giving us the answers, but here's a current bank statement.
Right.
All of that is in there. Some people are super organized, and then you pull out, like I pulled out this tray, is like a serving tray. These people had been, the gal, when she passed away, was in her 80s, so I'm just gonna hazard that they've been married for, let's just say, 50 years.
Yeah, at least.
And I found the wedding shower gift card that went with that serving tray, and the serving tray had never been used.
Yeah.
And it was still in the original gift packing from the wedding shower. So sorry, I digress because I love these stories.
That's
but
okay.
you have to go through everything, and it does get just so exhausting.
Yeah.
And I can't say that I haven't felt that way, day 3, day 4, day 8 at somebody's house, and I'm just like, oh, I don't want to go through this, I just want to throw it away.
Yep.
Or here's this plate, it must go to something, but I don't know what it goes to, and I just want to throw it.
Right.
I just want to throw it away. So I get that. But there are professionals. There's professional organizers and estate clearing companies. I think that estate sale and auction companies are super valuable. Yeah, they take a commission for what they do, or organizers get paid hourly for what they do. But they save you so much brain damage and they save you so much time. And you can do it, you can do it yourself for sure. And I've worked with those families where I've consulted and they're going to do their own estate sale. But they didn't realize after the first day or the first weekend of that estate sale that everything wasn't going to be gone.
Yeah.
And they had a lot left. So then they extended it to the next weekend. And they've done 3 or 4 weekends in a row, and it's still, there's still a lot left. Yeah. The professionals will spend a quarter of that time, because
it's amazing to me how quickly some of the professionals can come in, and I'm guessing like most adult children or family members that are going through this, they have their own life going on, a full-time job, raising kids, dealing with a life of their own.
Yeah.
So this can drag out to be close to a 6 month or a year long process if you're working nights and weekends.
Right.
Or for a fee, you can have somebody come in and knock this out like within a few short weeks, which is really going to help you all move on from this, the loss of a loved one.
Right.
Yeah.
For really that time frame, for a few $1,000s.
Yeah. It's so worth it.
Maybe a few $1,000s.
Right.
When we're under the roof of hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Right.
So
absolutely.
Yeah, yes, it's underestimated.
What should families never throw away before, without asking questions first?
I guess first and foremost, any sort of financial, legal documents or tax returns.
Okay.
Like, you don't know what you need until you need it. So take your time on that before you start shredding, just so you know you have your bases covered. It's not real easy to get like transcripts from the IRS. Imagine that. So knowing that you have all that information until you're like, oh, we're clear, I can shred that. Okay. So that'd be the first thing. Don't throw away. The second thing, we talked about sentimental items a little bit, but I'd say sentimental items. The minimalists, I'm a fan of the minimalists, but they say there's no such thing as a sentimental item. There's only sentimental people.
Okay.
Each of us I would say, are on a spectrum of that sentimentality. So I'm not super sentimental about things. It might take me a minute to say goodbye to an item, but
right.
I still know what my plan is to get rid of an item. A lot of people keep everything.
Yeah.
So it's going to range there. So if you're the person in charge of an estate, I would ask, before you start getting rid of anything in the house, I would ask people, beneficiaries and other interested parties, if they can make a list from memory of things that they would like to have. You'd be surprised at people's lists.
Yeah.
Like a granddaughter who wants grandpa's flannel shirts. Well, I would come in and see clothing and get into a donation bag and have it be gone. Right. So as a less sentimental person, right, I'm trying to clear space and get things done. But that granddaughter just wants a couple of grandpa's flannel shirts because grandpa always wore a flannel shirt.
Right.
Those are easy things to accommodate for people. And once they're gone, they're gone.
Yep.
So ask people to make the list. It's just a little bit of time.
Yeah.
And part of your job, unfortunately, as the person in charge, is managing people's expectations and managing some of those things that I call them the peopling. It's the peopling part.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Within reason, though. Also.
Within reason.
Right.
There's some. I've had family members who want absolutely everything. Right. Everything is sentimental to them. To their own detriment, right? They're also the ones where 5 years later I go to the storage unit that they're going to deal with, and now we're having to sell stuff out of the storage unit, which is way harder. Yep. So, yes, within reason, using your best judgment, but sometimes they're just easy asks.
Right, absolutely. In a perfect world, in your opinion, what does being fully prepared look like to you as a professional?
In a perfect world, I would say I see that as 3 levels. The foundational building blocks are having proper estate planning, so a will or trust that aligns with your assets. So making sure that the ownership of those assets or the beneficiaries of those assets align with the plan of that will or the trust.
Right.
So that takes a professional. I'd say that takes a professional to understand that alignment. So that building block, having powers of attorney, so that if you're incapacitated, maybe even more likely when you're incapacitated, that there are people that you want to be in charge of that, of you and your finances during that time, and having a pre-need funeral plan. The younger you are, it doesn't make sense to pay for your funeral like in your 30s, right? Don't part with your money in your 30s to pay for your funeral.
Right.
But you can write out at least your disposition.
Yeah.
If you'd like to have a service, and I talk about that a little bit in the book. I think everybody should have a service, but what would that look like if you wanted to have just help make some of those decisions? Would you want it at your church? Would you want it at Garden of the Gods? Would you, what does that look like for you? So those, I feel like those are foundational. That's foundational building blocks.
Right.
But that goes with that. The second piece would be the conversations with the people who are going to be in charge of those things. So telling them what that looks like. If I'm in hospice care, I would like, someone to come in and help take care of my nails. I would like to have my hair done. I would like, what does that look like when you're still alive, you're still living, but you're dying? How do I take care of you? Tell me about why you listed beneficiaries on this life insurance policy and why the zoo gets half of your insurance or your IRA,
Right.
Understanding why and having those conversations, and having the documents without the conversations. Now, having the conversations without the documents just still causes chaos.
Right.
You can tell everybody about what you want, but if it's not documented, then it leaves it all into question. But the cherry on top really would be that legacy piece. What are you leaving? How do you want people to remember you? What are the words that you would want them to remember that you said all the time? That's what they're going to say at your funeral.
Right.
That's what they're going to remember when they're having a hard day.
Yep.
And that's the true legacy. And that's where these conversations turn into stories.
Yep.
And the most precious time you can spend.
Absolutely. I love that. Speaking of stories, and I call this story time. So I know I basically, in this line of work, you have had to come across some wild, bizarre discoveries in somebody's home. Let's talk about that. What's some of the wild, most bizarre things you've come across in somebody else's home?
I just love people, and I love how different everybody is. And this job gave me this viewfinder to their lives. So many interesting houses. I'd have to say that one of the last projects that my team and I worked on really takes the cake. It was just very bizarre. We couldn't get into the house because when you opened the door into the house, you couldn't open it all the way. So we kind of shimmy through and move a bicycle and a ladder and a few things out of the way so we could open the door all the way. And we got in, and this basement was full, but he had a big military collection, military helmet collection, and lots of other collectibles and lots of other things. And it was very dark in this basement, and you're kind of tripping through, and there's light coming through the windows that aren't completely covered up, that aren't stacked over.
Right.
And so we're, looking for light switches and feeling along the walls, and come to this really dark room. There's no windows in this room. And I find the light switches and I pop them on. And in the middle of this room, in this basement where there's no windows in this area, there is a big king-sized round red velvet bed.
I love it. I love it.
And there's lots of clear space around this room. What's going on in this room? What is happening? And that was just the visual of seeing that bed always kind of cracks me up.
Yeah.
We did auction it.
You did?
We did. I think we sold it for $325.
That's incredible.
Somebody came and picked it up. So that was a fun house. I remember opening up the little door to the closet that goes underneath the stairs. Has just that angled
Yeah,
little
yeah.
storage
It's a
closet.
weird little closet. Yeah.
Yeah, it's full of peanut cans. And I'm thinking, oh, we don't want peanuts in here in a vacant house, right? So I go pick up this can and it weighs like 20 pounds.
Oh, it's got nuts and bolts and hardware.
It was money.
Money.
But
Okay.
it's change. It was coins, and some of it was sorted by like, this is all quarters, this is all nickels, but some of it wasn't. And he left notes on it, let's say his name was Jim. Is like Jim found change. Jim found on the street. Change Jim had on his dresser. Like he labeled all of it.
Okay.
So just real organized chaos. Just a little view into somebody's life.
Yeah.
And and that house, every time you went around a different corner, opened up a different door, there was something else kind of like
Right.
that. And just really, really fun. It took 2 auctions of the military stuff, and it took 3 auctions for the household items. And I'd say that's probably a record. I had one other house earlier in my career where it took 4 auctions to be able to reasonably group everything and auction it off. Most of the time it was 1 auction at best.
Yeah. You want to talk a little bit about that? You keep mentioning auction, and for some of these people that may be watching, they may not know. So there's in-person estate sales, which deals with our local market, and then there's online auction that basically have no boundaries, right?
Right. A lot of the ones I would do were local or regional. So we
Okay.
still had a lot of local people come to pick up.
Okay.
But depending on the items that we would have, we may open it up
Okay.
to a regional or national basis,
Okay.
because there were things that we could ship. So we're going to ship the household daily dishes, right? Those probably don't have a lot of value to them. But in one house, we found a Victorian era post-mortem. So what they used to do is they would either do a painting or take a picture of when your loved one passed away. A lot of times the only pictures you would have of your family would be when somebody died.
Yeah.
So this was of a baby in a cradle, and it was a picture, but they'd gone back in and painted. So they painted like the eyes, so it looked like the eyes were open. So really unique piece of history.
Right.
But we opened that up nationally because locally there probably just wasn't a big enough market to get the highest bidding price on that. So that was sold to somebody in Chicago, and we're able to ship that. But yeah, so the auctions could be local. These were online estate auctions, but you'll also see, especially on agricultural properties in Colorado, in other states, they do this. They do like on-site live auctions.
Oh,
so
wow.
like you'll have the caller in the yard
Okay.
auctioning off the car, auction off the dishes, auction off the tools. So it could be. But I did online estate auctions with a local auction company out of Monument.
And that's kind of what we're growing into, would you say? Like we're kind of coming more into auction becoming more and more of a thing? Or
I am so passionate about it that I may be not a good source for that. I'm seeing more of a resurgence in estate sale companies.
cool.
I'm seeing a lot of estate sale companies come in into play. I'm more of the live auction companies. I'm seeing them leave the market. I love the online auction because people were not, you're just pushing a button to bid it up, so it's non-confrontational, and then they just come and pick it up. I may not sell. I may, at an estate sale, you may price the kitchen table at $75 and not sell it. In an auction, I might sell it for $5, but I saved $45 for the hauler to come get it. So we're weighing the value of time versus money and effort throughout all that.
If you could sit down with every senior and adult child watching this interview for 5 minutes, what would be the one thing that you tell them?
Well, what I'd have them do.
Yeah. What would you have them do?
Is be in a room just like this.
Yep.
No phones, no distractions, no TV. Look each other in the eye and have the adult child ask their parent, if I had to take over for you today, if I had to step in for you today, what would you want me to know?
Yeah.
And let that parent answer that question. And then when they're done answering, that the parent can look at that child and say, if you had to step in for me today, what would you want to know? And just have, there's no motives here. There's no, we can overcome our barriers with each other and just come to that real conversation that we love each other and that I'm here for you and I want to know this.
Yeah.
And I want you to know this.
Right.
Again, precious conversations that most of us don't take the time, or we know, like I've done this myself. I know that I should ask this right now. This might be my only opportunity. And I skip it.
Yep. You get that lump in your throat, like you feel it, you think it, and we just can't get over that hump to do it.
Yeah.
And it's the damnedest thing, you know?
It is.
Yep.
It is. And I've experienced it myself. So
Yeah.
that's why I know, like, just however many people I can help facilitate that conversation with will be a gift.
Yeah. I want to, you know how movies aren't real, right? But I see it time and time again. Like there's a VHS tape that dad left for the kid to watch after the passing, right? I've never seen that happen in real life, right? But what you just said, like sit down, no distraction. It's a designated talk, and it's gonna get deep. It's gonna get emotional, and we're gonna figure some shit out, right? Like that.
Right.
That's what I'm hearing, and I think it might help to have kind of like a, and maybe this would be helpful, and maybe this is a thing I don't know, but I know like if I had to sit down and talk with you in that format, I wouldn't be able to think clearly and I wouldn't be able to say truly how I feel, right? So I think it would be cool to have kind of like a prompt where you can answer whatever 10, 15 questions on your own and then have a sit down and just kind of say, here you go, let me see yours. And then you can kind of fill in the gaps verbally at that sit down meeting. But I do think that it's, I mean, life is so chaotic, but we waste so much time like watching TV or, you know, doing things that don't matter. But having a conversation like that is so helpful. But also, like, I can't think of a more genuine conversation with a loved one than that type of sit down. So I really do think it's kind of inspired me to have a difficult conversation like that so that my wishes can be fulfilled. And I think a lot of people here, they're like, that's a great idea. But putting it into action is a completely different thing for some reason.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm here.
Yep, exactly. What is the single biggest lesson from your book, What I Learned from Working with Dead People?
When you're the one left behind and in charge, it's a big job. You've never been trained for it.
Yep.
And that there's ways that you can make it easier. So there's checklists. There's just some food for thought of things you never even thought would be a thing.
Yep.
There's resources of who can help you. Like that makes it easier for you. But, you know, just taking care of yourself. Remember you're grieving. You're also in charge. Like you said, you're in charge of the finances. You're in charge of the stuff. But you're also being looked to as by the beneficiaries. You're working for them on their behalf. They're looking to you for leadership too.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a burden. It's not an easy job, but for me, I feel like it is also a gift. I don't think that there's there's high callings, but I think it's among the higher callings of being the one who gets to like tie up the loose ends for the life of someone that you loved.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's interesting to look at it that way. I had been the person that's like, I would avoid that job at all costs. But the way that you worded that, I'm like, you're right. Like being able to take on, I mean, what more important job, you know? Like you're doing something that is You don't get a thank you for it. You don't get a ton of recognition for it. You're going to be in the trenches for a while dealing with the rest of your life, but you are tying up all these loose ends at somebody's last and final wishes. So uh, good on you for being that person. And
Yeah.
yeah. So what's next for Michelle Stellick? What is I on your website it talks about courses coming soon. Is that in relation to the book, kind of helping people decide on what's next, or
Yes.
okay,
Yes. So I will have details. I'm furiously working on details right now,
okay,
but right now I am planning and will have details on my Facebook page, LinkedIn, and the website soon
okay,
for an in person workshop that will take place in October of
okay,
this year. So, in person in Colorado Springs. The plan is for it to be a 3 session workshop to do this work, to do this planning. So, multi generational workshop. Everybody is going to get to do their planning together at the same time. So the kid will also do their planning at the same time that maybe they're assisting their parent
okay,
or aunt or uncle, whoever you're going to be in charge for. Um, so 3 Saturdays kind of in a row, and I know it's a chunk of time, but it's really asking. It's those prompts, asking all those questions, and sitting down and talking with each other. So there's instruction, there's the true work. So when you're done with this workshop, you will have more than the foundational pieces done.
okay,
You will have even made it to the cherry on top. Is the plan. We're
right.
going through all of that. Um,
So you want to facilitate that space that we were just talking about.
yeah,
Yep, I think that's
absolutely.
golden.
And then in November, we'll do that same course, but as a Zoom course. So this is for people who are spread out, where there's a kid in Arizona, there's a kid in Colorado, and the parent is in Maine. I don't know, that they can all be together. So group instruction, breakout rooms for families to talk and express their wishes. I think it's good that the kids would do their work too.
Absolutely.
We perfect in a perfect world, the kid does not predecease their parent, but this is not a perfect world.
Right.
So just starting that thought process at all ages. So those are the workshops that are coming soon,
Okay.
and just working through this. I'm available. I want to do this planning piece, this
Mm-hmm.
conversation piece, but also that assistant to the personal representative. So if someone's is in charge of an estate and they just need help
Yep.
project managing it, doing the paperwork, knowing what comes next, just having a partner with them that goes to the estate planning attorney's office and listens to the plan. You're learning it all for the first time. I can
Right.
assist you through that process,
Okay.
as an after loss professional.
Okay. Is there anything we did not cover today that you want to address?
Um, many things,
All
but
right.
I appreciate your time um, yeah, and just being able to speak with your audience and hopefully give them some helpful ideas.
I love it. Well, before we go, if people want to get in touch with you, how can they do so? And those people that want to buy your book, I will make sure I attach a link below on where to
Thank
buy
you.
it. But do you want to tell us how to get in touch with you and where they can find your book?
Sure. So my website is gentle-wisdom.com. There's a contact page there. My phone number's there. You can text me. You can email me. I will get back with you. I'm available for one-on-one consultations. Then details for workshops and classes will be there. Working on online classes too. So everything's kind of new in this educational piece. Where to find the book? Most online retailers, so Amazon, Barnes and Noble. Then locally, Poor Richards has some of my books. So
I
if you
love it.
want to go down to a local cool bookshop, get a coffee, have a glass of wine, whichever floats your boat, my book is there.
I love it. Well, Michelle, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate you, Clay.
All right. I really enjoyed this conversation with Michelle. Throughout our conversation, I realized that this is more for you getting your wishes known and having those difficult conversations. Yes, they are difficult, but man, they really are so helpful for your family and your loved one. And it's really, I think it's respectful and it's thoughtful to sit down and make sure that your wishes are known, so that your loved one after your passing can take care of you the way that you wanted to be taken care of. But also, it is your last way for you to take care of them. Instead of them having to bicker and argue and, you know, figure all this out through grieving, you are leaving them with a plan to execute and leaving them nothing to figure out on their own. I really hope this interview with Michelle encourages all of you to take advantage of the time you have left. Go ahead and have those difficult conversations and get your affairs in order, and focus on the things that matter while there's still time. If you'd like to learn more about this topic and my interview with Michelle and read her book for yourself, which I highly recommend, check out the description below. There will be a link to Amazon to find out where and how to purchase the book, What I Learned Working for Dead People. If you found value in today's episode, please make sure to hit the like and subscribe button below so you get notified the next time I drop a video. Hey, thank you all so much for watching, and just remember, it's never too late to start planning for tomorrow while making the most of today. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.